Hey everyone, my name is Jurgen. I'm the creator of ARGUS, which is an automated double entry accounting system that I programmed using Google Sheets. This is part 1 of my ARGUS guide on how to configure the system and use it for your own. And in this video, we are looking at the monthly financial report. I'm going to show you how to record transactions, explain the basic accounting, and also show you the automation in action. So let's get straight into the system. And the whole system that I built here is based around a simplified version of the accounting cycle. So you start off with the journal entries or recording your transactions here. It gets categorized in the general ledgers and subsidiary ledgers, then pops out or gets balanced in the trial balances, pops out financial statements, closes the books, and finally makes a trial balance after closing. Now, let's begin on what you typically would do at the start of the month. If you want to follow along, you can make a copy of this exact template in my GitHub. You can find it at the bottom of the README tab. Let's start with the front cover. You'll see there's this cover I made. Feel free to remove it or make a design of your own if you want. And if you scroll down, you'll see two boxes. There's the target period. Let's just fill in something like June 1st, 2026. I think that's reasonable. And for this specific box, we'll leave it for now. It'll be important later. Let's move into the chart of accounts, which is basically all the accounts and subsidiaries you would be using throughout the system. Now, I think accounts are pretty self-explanatory, but subsidiaries you don't see that often. And that is basically the subsections of these assets and liabilities. For example, here I have electronic wallets, and I have a lot of them. Let's say I have GoPay, OVO, and Flash, but maybe for the folks in North America, you guys would have PayPal, Venmo, stuff like that. And of course, you have these accounts have individual balances, and they need to be individualized using the subsidiary or the chart of subsidiaries. Now let's move into the initial balance sheet. This is where data from the previous month gets put in, because stuff like assets, liabilities, and your capital doesn't just reset every month. You have to bring it all the way from your last month. And how you do that is using the box that we talked about previously, this one. So I've prepared a mock, or like a little trial balance after closing in January. And all you have to do is copy this URL, paste it in this box, and voila, you can see it takes 2-3 minutes or seconds, and it pops out and it fills the data. And one important rule to notice is that the debit and credit are always equal. And that is one important rule in accounting, where every stage of the way, debit and credit are always equal. Now let's look into the journal entries, and this is where you write down your transactions. So let's say I bought a bag of chips from a supermarket at a price of 12k rupiah using GoPay in the 16th of June. So you would write down the date first for February 16th, and then you would write down the expenses. For my specific account, you would use discretionary expenses, but let's just say you misspelled something. You missed the S, and it would pop out not recognizable. Why did it do that? Because in the chart of accounts here, there is no discretionary expense, and it only looks at the accounts that are recognized here. And you can see that I've misspelled it. I've missed an S at the back, so we just fill in the S, and now it pops out as not asset or liability, because only assets and liabilities, in my system at least, have subsidiaries. And we've built this 12k. There we go. So this is line 1 done of the transactions. We need to move into the credit line now. And what I do to separate the debit and credit line is add 4 spaces, so it's more distinct that way. And because let's say we used GoPay this time, which is an electronic wallet. So we put in electronic wallets. and now a subsidiary will show up, and all the subsidiary or the electronic wallets that we have in the chart of accounts. Let's put in GoPay and put in 12K. Now, oops, my bad. Now this is already 2/3 of the transaction done. Now what we need is the description. Of course, if you just use this, it's not really descriptive. So we need to add a description. Let's just say, bought a bag of chips in a supermarket. Yeah. Oops, in market. Let's just say market, yeah. There we go. So that is one transaction recorded. That's it. Now we can see in the general ledgers, it's been recorded in the electronic wallets. You can see. That's the thing we just made, by the way. And not only does it show up here, it would also show up in the discretionary expenses as a debit. See? So it adds to the discretionary expenses. Now that's the general ledgers. Let's look into the subsidiary ledgers. And we can also see that there's a new line in the GoPay ledger. As you can see, it's credited. It subtracts the balance of the debit. Now let's add in another expense or an income, let's say. Let's say I was hired as a cleaner at the June 23rd, and then I got paid at the exact same day. I'll go into my, let's say, my cash in hand. So let's just type cash on hand, 4 spaces, wage and salary income. And you would put in the subsidiaries IDR, which is Indonesian rupiah on hand. And let's say I got paid 400K. Copy and paste it here. As you can see, always equal. And add the description, paid for cleaner services. There. And you can see in the general ledgers, it would show up in income, wage and salary. It would also show up in cash on hand. In the subsidiary version, you can see it shows up in the IDR on hand as well. Now let's move into, maybe this looks a little complex to you. Maybe you don't, because you really need some basic or 12th grade accounting to understand it. Now, if you don't really know how to make up these accounts and how to use it, what I would do is copy and paste these and put it into ChatGPT or Gemini, and then use a prompt. And I'll put the prompt below, so you can just copy and paste it in Gemini or AI, and then you can, and below that you put in like your transactions, and it'll just pop out what it would look like in a journal entry. So yeah, that's how you would use the journal entries. Let's see the trial balance now. And as you can see, this is very similar to the initial balance sheet, but now has been added and subtracted by all the transactions we've done in the month. And you can see it's also equal. The debit and credit are always equal at every stage of the way. So yeah, it basically means that it's working as intended. Let's move into the financial statements now. And we have 3 financial statements, and this page is usually what investors look at when they review a company and stuff like that, because it's like the most user-friendly, the most eye-catching, I guess you can say, the most representative of a company. And in here, income statement, it's basically revenue subtracted by expenses, and it would either pop out a net profit or a net loss. For this case, because our revenue is higher than our expenses, it of course results in a net profit. And then we move into the statement of changes in equity, where our initial capital is added by our net profit or subtracted by our net loss. It depends on what is being done that month. And then we pop out a final capital, this amount, and this amount will go into this place. And this is the balance sheet report. Basically, it's the final decider if everything you've done throughout the system is operating properly. And as you can see, another golden rule of accounting: assets equal liabilities and equity. And because these two are equal, that means the system is working as intended. So we've done everything correctly. And then what you would use, this is not really important per se, but this is the closing entries. This is basically because income and expenses don't really transfer into the next month. So in here you basically just remove everything, remove all the expenses and revenue, and then put it into income summary. Then we move into the trial balance after closing, and this is basically a recap of all the things we've done in this month. And this page is what we used to transfer the data into the next month. Like in January here, trial balance after closing, we use this data to put into the initial balance sheet, and then it goes on and goes on and goes on. So that's basically it for what I'm going to show you for today. And there's some basic error handling that I've programmed here. So the entire template along with the source code is completely free and open source on my GitHub. You can find a link in the description below to fork it and start tracking. Of course, this is man-made, so if you see any errors or bugs, please notify me so I can try and fix it for you, for the public as well, of course. And in the next video, we will go over essentially how to hook up a few of these individual monthly sheets into our centralized annual summary to track your year-long financial happenings. So go start the repo, and I'll see you in video 2.